My friends, the grocery store can be a really scary place, and it's not just with food items. You go around any grocery store, to the personal care section, to the household item, there's a lot of ingredients that are so bad for us and our family that I wanted to make a video about it. We're gonna walk around and show the top 5 items and ingredients to avoid because they're so bad for our health. And a lot of these things I'm gonna show, you might not even think that there's bad stuff in there, like toothpaste and air fresheners, but there sure is a bunch of that stuff, and I don't want that in your body, so let's walk around and show you what's going on. I love eating juicy shrimp tacos at home. The problem is when you get shrimp and when you get even salmon to make at home, 9 times out of 10 when you get it from the freezer department or you actually go to the fishmonger department, it's not wild caught. It is, boom, farm raised, boom, farm raised. And in my opinion, it's a really big problem. Let's start with shrimp. These shrimp are from Indonesia. A lot of farm-raised shrimp are from Southeast Asia. And the problem with farm-raised shrimp is that they're grown in what's called an aquaculture. It's a pen in the ocean. And 9 times out of 10, these pens are overcrowded. What happens when you overcrowd in aquaculture? Well, number one, you get diseases and the shrimp and the fish get sick and they have to administer antibiotics to the fish. That's not normal, that's not natural. What are they feeding the shrimp? Because they're not wild caught, they're not feeding their own, getting their own food, they're feeding it animal byproduct, AKA poop. They also feed it like GMO soy and grains and corn. And then if you're eating those shrimp, you're effectively eating GMOs in the shrimp. And unfortunately, if you watched this documentary on Netflix a while back called Seaspiracy, in Southeast Asia, they can employ slave laboring when it comes to shrimp. And the same is true of salmon. They're grown in the overcrowded aquacultures. They get the antibiotics, they get the animal byproduct feed, but this is not the normal or natural color of the farm-raised salmon. Because the salmon can't swim and can't eat a natural diet, the color's actually gray. And they have to add, it says it right there, color added. They have to add beta carotene to the salmon to give it that color. That's not natural. That's not what you want. So what do? You don't eat like fish and you don't eat shrimp at all? No. Wild caught is so easy to get. We have so much wild caught Gulf of Mexico shrimp, Florida shrimp, Canadian shrimp. Anytime you see wild caught there, that's a really, really good thing. And the same is true with salmon. Wild Alaskan salmon. Also, in addition to not having the animal byproducts and the color that's gray, these are wild caught. So nutritionally speaking, wild caught shrimp, wild caught salmon, wild caught seafood is nutritionally superior to farm raised, which is why I would avoid farm raised at all costs. This is one of those aisles that when I walk down, I get a headache. Leilani too, because there's so many perfumes and fragrances coming off of these air fresheners, coming off of these I get a shock. This is what I'm laughing about. See, the struggle is real. She's really covering her nose here. We're not joking about it. The aromas coming off of her laundry detergent are really invasive. And when I see people with plug-ins for air fresheners or those commercials where the mom walks into the kid's room and Febrezes it everywhere, I get goosebumps. Why? Because the only way they're getting the scent in all of these products is with, look, fragrance. Fragrance and perfumes are public enemy number 1 in personal care and household ingredients like this. Fragrances and perfumes are like the natural flavors version of this stuff, but way worse because fragrances contain so many mystery ingredients. And don't ask them the ingredients in there because they're proprietary. They won't tell you, but there's up to 3,000 chemicals to manipulate the fragrance or perfume anytime they want, any way they want. And when tests are done, they oftentimes find that in their fragrance are formaldehyde and benzene, hello cancer, also endocrine disrupting, hormone disrupting ingredients. Oh gosh, I wonder why so many of us are having infertility issues and they're at all-time high. It's because these endocrine disrupting ingredients are everywhere. Even when it says something like made with essential oils, you look on the back and the only ingredient is fragrance parfum. It's the biggest lie, and it's really bad for us. And if you're spraying it with this and it gets aerosolized, it's even worse. When it says it's for pets and there's a dog on there, it's horrible for pets. It's horrible for all of us. You don't want that in your house at all. And actually, today's sponsor of the video is Branch Basics. If you watch me on stories, that's all over my house. You talk about a non-toxic, plant-based cleaning solution that works, but it's 100% safe. It's incredible. You order the starter kit and it comes with the Branch Basics concentrate and a bunch of empty bottles. You fill water and concentrate up depending on the bottle, whether it's hand soap, whether it's liquid laundry detergent, whether it's all-purpose spray. The stuff works. It has no phthalates, no endocrine disruptors, no allergens at all. My link down below gets you 15% off the starter kit, which gets you the concentrate and a bunch of bottles. I would also recommend getting the Oxy Boost. It's their version of Oxy Clean, which worked great for stains on the counter and for stains in your clothes. And I would also get their dish tablets for the machine. They're fantastic. They work. They're non-toxic, and it's 100% Bobby approved. My link down below gets you 15% off your starter kit of choice. I use this stuff like crazy at home. You're gonna love it. This stuff, not so much. It's amazing to me how popular energy drinks are, and I haven't found one on the market that's Bobby approved. On the contrary, the ingredients of many of these are actually kind of scary to me. Let's just take the one that's been around the longest. So Red Bull. The active ingredient in here is taurine, which we'll talk about in a second, but of course it's going to give you wings when one can of this, which is the large one, has 38 grams of added sugar. My friends, that's over 9 teaspoons of added sugar in here. You're going to be floating off the freaking shelves when you have something like that. But the active ingredient in this and many is something called taurine, which is actually good for you. But the problem is the amount of taurine a lot of these can use can be 10 times the amount you would normally have, and that's where you start getting into issues. But you might be like, Bobby, I would never drink that much sugar. I get something like this, which is 0 sugars. The problem is we look at the other ingredients and how are they sweetening it? With sucralose. What did we talk about before? Sucralose, aka Splenda, is a bad artificial sweetener that can break your DNA. More importantly, it has some energy ingredients in here like guarana. But if you look in the bottom here, it has caffeine to the tune of 200 milligrams of caffeine per serving. That's 2 cups of coffee worth of caffeine. In Canada, they actually say that if your energy drink has over 200 milligrams of caffeine, it can't be sold. They have to remove a bunch from the shelves. So between the excess caffeine, the sugar, and the taurine, that's where you can end up getting jitters. That's where you can end up being in the hospital. If you want a good energy drink, just have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I would not put any of these in my body. We're walking through the toothpaste aisle here, and we keep hearing this buzzing noise. We're like, what is it coming from? It's coming from the electric toothbrush that somebody left on here, and I keep trying to push it off, but I can't. So I'm gonna put this away. And the reason why I'm here is like, it's still very loud actually. A lot of people don't think about ingredients in toothpaste. And yes, we've done videos a long time ago, but it turns out that your oral microbiome is really, really sensitive. A lot of people think about microbiomes of the tummy. Your mouth has one too, and a lot. And I mean, the majority of the toothpaste on here have an ingredient that are not very good for that sensitive oral microbiome. And if you look at the inactive ingredients on here, there it is. Sodium lauryl sulfate, oftentimes called SLS. It's a very harsh scrubbing agent that is responsible for making this very sudsy and foamy. But it's so sudsy and foamy that it can strip a lot of the good bacteria from your mouth, and actually it's just too harsh on your gums. You don't want that at all. And do you ever think how they get that blue strip in there? It's with blue number 1. Artificial colors like blue 1, red 5 are derived from petroleum or crude oil. In your mouth, no way. I actually don't even see the ones I use at home on here, but sometimes it's deceiving because you pick up something like this that looks like it's good for you, but just read the inactive ingredients or scan it with the Bobby approved app. That works on personal care items too. This one has the sodium lauryl sulfate too, and it has the carrageenan. And I avoid carrageenan in food because it's inflammatory, and your gums are very absorbent. It can absorb the carrageenan also. And people pick up stuff like this. It's all marketing. They think it's clean. It's not so clean when it has titanium dioxide. The only purpose of titanium dioxide is to make things white because it's a derivative of paint. But oh, don't worry, it's the food safe version of paint, so we're all kosher, right? No, homie, don't play that game at all. If you want a Bobby approved toothpaste, there's 2 brands I use at home. One is, oh my God, this is so loud. One is Dr. Bronner's, which you can get everywhere. No scrubbing agents, no BS. One's a little more expensive. It's called a Risewell. It has a mineral called hydroxyapatite in there. That mineral restores the enameling on your teeth. Really good for you, but please stay away from especially SLS. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna find a way to turn that toothbrush off because it's driving me and Leilani crazy. There's more and more people moving away from cane sugar in their diet, and that's a good thing. The problem is when you move away from sugar, there's 2 types of sweeteners. There's natural ones that are the good ones and the artificial ones that are the bad ones. And unfortunately, when you walk around the grocery store, most of the products use the artificial sweeteners because they're really cheap, and especially when it comes to soda. And a lot of times those are aspartame and sucralose. And you'll see those here because Splenda is sucralose and something like Equal is aspartame. Whereas the good ones are stuff like stevia, monk fruit, allulose. Those are plant-based. And we talk about that a lot on the channel. But if you pay attention to the news, the last 3 or 4 months, studies have come out about these sweeteners that are really bad. For example, sucralose, aka Splenda and others, can break your DNA. And a lot of cheap sodas and energy drinks use sucralose. And when it comes to aspartame, which in this case is Equal, that has been shown to be a carcinogen. And that kind of stuff doesn't surprise me because these are really bad artificial man-made sweeteners. Whereas when you go for the natural sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit, allulose, those don't have any issues. And when you get something like stevia, I recommend getting pure stevia that's not cut with anything else. Some people like to cite studies saying it's bad for the microbiome or the gut, but that just isn't true. When it comes to avoiding sugar in general, go for the natural plant-based sugar alternatives. Avoid the chemically man-made alternatives because those are horrific. All right, friends, that is it for 5 things in the grocery store to avoid. And I know these kind of videos can be scary, but the best part about it is I explain why they're bad for you, and I always, repeat, always give you a better for you option. Maybe for the air freshener I didn't, but you can just use essential oil diffusers, or there's a company called Grow that sprays and it's just pure essential oils. I'm never gonna leave you hanging. I'm always gonna hook you up. But from the grocery store, a very cold Walmart indeed. I leave you like I always do. # keep on cooking. Mad love and peace. Later.